In the heart of Los Angeles, beneath the glimmering lights of Forrester Creations, Will Spencer paced the length of the sleek, marble-floored corridor. His mind churned with every possible outcome of the bold, reckless plan he was about to enact. He and Elektra had been inseparable in recent weeks, public appearances, glossy magazine spreads, whispered declarations of forever in the shadowed corners of exclusive rooftop bars. But now, to catch Luna Nozawa off guard, he would pretend to sever that bond. He had told Elektra, in soft-toned heartbreak, that the spark between them had dimmed, that he could no longer ignore the magnetic pull he felt towards someone else, a non-committal confession meant to drive Luna out of her cage. Word travels fast in their world, and by morning every gossip blog and tabloid would be buzzing about their breakup, sending Luna an irresistible summons. If Will had moved on so quickly, perhaps she still had a chance to speak her truth. Behind Will's emerald green eyes flickered resolve. He would extend an invitation to a late-night rendezvous at an exclusive penthouse suite owned by his grandfather, no witnesses apart from his loyal lawyer, a single hidden camera, and the neutral hum of CCTV tucked behind a smoke detector. Under the guise of finality, he would push Luna to admit that she had slipped potassium cyanide into Steffi Forrester's drink at a charity gala 2 weeks earlier, a crime that still haunted the Forrester family, fracturing alliances and threatening to destroy legacies. He rehearsed his words as he straightened his tie. "Luna, it's over between us and Elektra. But I need to know why you tried to kill Steffi." Then he would kiss Luna in a blaze of perfume and desire, flick the hidden switch on the camera, and record the tremulous gasp, the tear-laden confession, the confession that would obliterate Luna's schemes forever. At midnight, the penthouse suite sat bathed in moonlight, panoramic windows framing the city's neon heartbeat. Will entered alone, his jacket slung casually over one shoulder, muscles coiled under crisp white shirt and tailored trousers. He saw Luna standing by the bar, a slender figure in a burgundy slip dress that clung to every curve. Her dark hair fell like silk, her lips were painted raven red, a silent challenge. She turned, smiled a slow, deadly smile. "You broke up with Elektra," she observed, voice low and measured. "So soon? How poetic." Will swallowed and stepped forward. He placed his hands on her shoulders, gentle, but Luna's eyes, gleaming in the half-light, brimmed with untamed fire. "I have to know," he began, voice quivering with faint desperation, "why you poisoned Steffi." Luna's smile split her face. She let her gaze drop, exposing a flash of vulnerability. Will reached for her hand. Luna sighed theatrically, her soft exhale carrying both defeat and cunning. At that moment, Will pressed his lips to hers, a searing, desperate kiss that fanned the flames of her treachery. Luna yielded, her body arching toward his, and Will's heart thundered. This was it. Simultaneously, his lawyer in a back room watched the feed, fingers poised to capture every word. On cue, Will whispered, "Admit it, Luna. You did it to hurt the Forresters." Luna's breath caught. She barely uttered a cracked, "I had to," before Will's hand found the camera's activation button, sealing her fate in high definition. But Luna Nozawa was a master of shadows, and her brilliance lay in anticipating every angle. Weeks earlier, while volunteering at a charitable shelter, she'd noticed the telltale glint of a pinhole lens in an unlikely corner, an insurance policy of her own. She recognized the model, top of the line, military grade, designed to capture clear images even under dim light. So when Will pressed that button, he believed he held the upper hand, but in reality, he had played into Luna's hand. No sooner had Will smirked triumphantly than Luna broke the kiss, her eyes calculating. "You think this proves anything?" she breathed. She crashed her hands around Will's neck in a show of passion and aggression, grinding her mouth to his in a performance so intense that it left Will breathless. He stumbled back, stunned, and Luna ushered him toward the plush velvet chaise by the window. With a swift movement, she swept the sheets aside, revealing a lace slip beneath. All the while, she pressed her body against his, dragging him into a fevered embrace that blurred the line between consent and coercion. She let the camera roll as she moaned his name, too loud to be anything but willing, her fingers tangling in his hair. Each gasp, each tremor, each drawn-out sigh replayed the narrative she would sell to the world. Will had forced himself on her, taken advantage of her vulnerability, driven by obsession and rage. When she finally broke away, eyes blazing with faux indignation, she pressed her palms to her cheeks, mimicking the flushed heat of shame. "What have you done to me, Will?" she cried, her voice quivering. Then she collapsed onto the chaise, limbs splayed in perfect disarray. In the days that followed, Luna orchestrated her revenge with surgical precision. She applied makeup and tinted lotions to create dark, jagged bruises on her arms and shoulders, the evidence of a maniacal attack. She used a blunt object in the privacy of her upscale apartment to inflict red welts on her ribcage and thighs, then showered to wash away tracks, leaving behind only the bruises that blended seamlessly with her story. She visited a sympathetic doctor, one she had cultivated as an ally, who examined her injuries and pronounced her battered and traumatized. Every medical report, every photograph of her contusions, every whisper of pity built the scaffolding for her case. Electra, bewildered by Will's abrupt abandonment, confronted him in the gleaming conference room at Forrester Creations. He stammered, referencing Luna's cries for help, but Electra recoiled in horror, her faith in him dissolving like sugar in rain. Meanwhile, tabloids exploded. Heartless playboy accused of rape, fashion scion's dark secret revealed, Luna's harrowing tale of terror. Social media seethed with anger, thousands trending #JusticeForLuna, demanding Will's arrest. Steffi, recovering from the shock of poisoning, received Luna's story with a heart pounding in righteous indignation. Her hatred for the girl who tried to kill her metamorphosed into solidarity for the girl who had allegedly been violated by the same man. The press conferences, the tearful testimonies, the exclusive video clips spliced to frame Will as a violent predator, all converged into a crescendo of public outrage that threatened to drown Will's protests in a sea of calls for legal retribution. By the time Will turned himself in at the West LA police station, the cameras were already rolling. He emerged from his luxury sedan in a tailored suit, hands trembling as he stepped onto the concrete steps. Flashbulbs popped, reporters shouted questions he could not answer. "Did you rape Luna Nozawa? Will you plead not guilty? How do you respond to the evidence?" In the station's grim lobby, he saw the grainy footage of that night projected on a television screen, Luna's performance of revulsion and ecstasy combined, set to a heartbreak ballad that dripped with manipulation. He felt a cold sweat break across his brow as he realized that every alibi, every witness he could summon, would now be pitted against her meticulously engineered illusion. His phone buzzed with frantic calls from his lawyer, from Electra, from his mother in Paris, demanding to know if he was safe. But the world had already pronounced its verdict. As officers read him his rights, Will's voice echoed in his own mind. Why didn't I see it coming? The question hung in the stale air, unanswered. Outside, Luna stood on the curb in a simple white sundress, hair mussed to frame her bruised skin, eyes rimmed with tears that glistened under the setting sun. Reporters pressed forward, microphones thrust toward her like bayonets. She lifted her chin, a single tear sliding down her cheek, And in that moment, she became the face of triumph and tragedy entwined. "I just want justice," she whispered, and the world believed every syllable. In the distance, Forrester Creations loomed, its brilliant glass facade reflecting the chaos unfurling in its wake. Soon, this scandal would sweep through every boardroom and boutique, every gala and family dinner. But for now, under the watchful gaze of the city, Luna held her victory close as she watched Will Spencer disappear behind bars, her confession never revealed, her secret camera never found, her destiny forever altered by one perfectly staged kiss. Nick sat alone in his sleek downtown office long after dusk, the city lights of Los Angeles flickering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. He tapped his fingers on the polished mahogany desk, glancing at the confidential envelope before him. He'd wired an untraceable payment to a veteran private investigator who specialized in deep dives and international files. The investigator had worked discreetly, masquerading as a research consultant, and had returned with a trove of documents smuggled out of Paris, Taylor Hayes's medical records from the prestigious Clinique de la Seine. Nick had scanned every page with a cold stare. Buried among routine checkups and unremarkable notes lay a bombshell. In 2002, Dr. Hayes had been suspended by the French Medical Board for 6 months due to professional boundary issues with a patient, a vague euphemism implying an inappropriate personal relationship that crossed the line of doctor-patient ethics. There were no explicit details, but the notation alone was enough to cast long shadows over Taylor's impeccable reputation. Nick felt a dark satisfaction as he reviewed the summary report. The investigator had managed to blur out personal identifiers of other patients, leaving only Taylor's name and the board's verdict in full view. He updated his cover letter to Ridge, attaching redlined excerpts that implied Taylor's emotional stability was questionable, that she might manipulate his heart and his business if he married her. Nick envisioned Ridge pacing the marble floors of Forrester Creations, his brow furrowed, his confidence shaken. Ridge would hesitate, he would falter, and when he did, Brooke would be there to pick up the pieces. He closed the file with a soft snap, resolved that tomorrow morning he would deliver this lethal dossier into Brooke's hands and watch as she used it to save Ridge from a disastrous union. Brooke awoke just before dawn, the golden California light slanting through her bedroom curtains. She sat up, heart pounding, as Nick's text pinged, "Meeting at 9. Urgent information on Taylor." She slipped into a crisp pencil skirt and silk blouse, her mind racing. In the grand foyer of Forrester Creations, she found Ridge already waiting, hands clasped behind his back, eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. Nick approached with the envelope, poised and serious. Brooke accepted it, her breath catching as she read the first lines. "Confidential medical records, Dr. Taylor Hayes. Disciplinary action 2002. She skimmed the summary of the suspension for professional boundary issues, her stomach dropping. Ridge's gaze locked on hers. "What is it?" he asked quietly. Brooke's hand trembled as she laid out the evidence, pointing to the French board seal and the ominous notation. She spoke plainly. Taylor's past raised questions about her judgment, her capacity to maintain healthy limits, her fitness to be Ridge's wife, and that could imperil everything he'd built. Ridge's jaw tightened. He swallowed hard and ran a hand through his hair. "I need time," he muttered. But Brooke could feel the shift in him. Doubt was creeping in like a cancer. She seized his hand, voice urgent. "Ridge, you deserve someone you can trust completely. You deserve peace, not a lifetime of wondering what else she's hiding." He hesitated, the weight of her words settling steel in his eyes, as behind them the Forrester banner hung, a silent witness to the collapse of their future. Yet while Brooke felt the tide turning in her favor, she carried an undercurrent of dread, Once they used Taylor's darkest secret, there would be no going back. Taylor learned of the leak before lunch. She'd been giving a guest lecture at UCLA Medical School, and campus gossip reached her via hushed whispers among colleagues. Within hours, her phone exploded with frantic voicemails from Eric, from Ridge's assistant, from Steffi, all demanding explanation. But Taylor, dignified and composed, summoned her own legal dream team instead, privacy attorneys renowned for taking down media empires. By evening, she filed a civil lawsuit against Nick Spencer for invasion of privacy, unauthorized access to confidential medical records, defamation, and emotional distress. The court filings dropped like a bombshell. Nick had violated California and federal statutes protecting patient confidentiality and medical privacy. Taylor's complaint detailed the clandestine methods used by the investigator, the extortionate intent behind leaking the file, and the reckless disregard for Taylor's reputation and mental health. She named Brooke Logan as a complicit witness, citing Brooke's direct receipt and use of the documents in Ridge's office. Overnight, headlines spun the narrative into a full-blown scandal, Forrester intrigue. Taylor Hayes sues Spencer for privacy breach, Brooke Logan implicated in medical records leak, Ridge's wedding plans in jeopardy as lawsuit threatens family legacy. Social media erupted, fans split into warring factions defending Taylor's right to privacy or condemning Brooke's betrayal. The meticulous PR team at Forrester Creations scrambled to draft damage control statements, but every release only fanned the flames. Forrester's stock price wavered, advertisers paused, and every runway show scheduled for the season faced boycotts and protests. Brooke received a court summons delivered by a white-gloved process server in the marble hallway of her office. She read the plaintiff's complaint with growing horror. She was subpoenaed to testify under oath about every interaction with Taylor's records, from Nick's initial briefing to her own counsel's strategy sessions. The document accused her of orchestrating a campaign to undermine Taylor's credibility, to poison public opinion, to sabotage Ridge's marriage. She felt her world tilt. Across the family boardroom, Eric slammed a fist on the table. "How could you, Brooke?" he thundered. "You knew Taylor since she was a frightened patient seeking help from us. You knew this was wrong." Steffi covered her face, tears trailing down her cheeks as Quinn and Wyatt argued over legal tactics and media statements. Ridge stood at the center, torn between Brooke's crumbling facade of righteousness and Taylor's wounded dignity. Every accusation in Taylor's complaint chafed like salt in an open wound: breach of trust, betrayal of friendship, professional misconduct. The walls that once felt like home now felt like a courtroom, cold and unforgiving. Nick hovered at the edge of the chaos, guilt flickering across his features, though he refused to back down. This was his plan to save Ridge, and now he would fight to the bitter end. In the days that followed, depositions began. Lawyers in charcoal suits trailed Brooke like vultures, and Taylor watched from the gallery, solemn and resolute. The press corps camped outside the Forrester gate, their lenses capturing every flinch, every guarded glance. Forrester Creations felt the strain. Design deadlines missed, contracts withdrawn, creative teams distracted. Ridge found himself trapped between two women he loved in different ways, one who had risked everything to protect his future, and one who had entrusted him with her life only to be publicly humiliated. At night, he wandered the empty loft, replaying Brooke's pleas and Taylor's dignified statements, wondering if any marriage could survive such wounds. As the trial loomed, the Forrester empire teetered on the brink of collapse, its foundations cracked by deceit and ambition. And in the quiet interlude before the next hearing, each player, Nick, Brooke, Taylor, Ridge, stood on a precipice, forced to reckon with the cost of secrets revealed and loyalties betrayed. The questions hung in the air like storm clouds. Could trust ever be restored? Would love outlast the trial? And who would emerge from the wreckage with their soul intact? In the world of the bold and the beautiful, there were no easy answers, only the next explosive chapter waiting to be written.